Welcome traders to our Sunday live session. It is Sunday, January 22nd, 2017. Just here back at it again, just checking out the charts for the week. If you guys are tuning in for your first time, if you guys are part of my free group, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your guys' support. My name is David Schinkel. I'm the CEO and founder of Positive Traders. I run a trading group for a couple different groups, have a paid group and a free group. So if you guys like what you see here, you guys end up making some money this week off of the setups, definitely go check out our website, www.positivetraders.us. In our paid group, I give out about 10 signals, average about 10 signals a week. We catch a couple hundred pips. You guys can see our progress in our Telegram. We caught about 100 and almost about 150 pips the past 2 weeks. Been really, really solid this month. I also hold a daily live session Monday through Thursday for all my premium members. So really that's for those of you out there that are tuning in, that are really trying to like step your trading game up, become self-sustainable and really learn, help kind of reduce that learning curve. In the premium group, that's what I do, a live session. They all get recorded. And then of course we have our trade copier. So I manage a MAM account and, it's completely hands-free. You don't have to do anything. Aim for about 5 to 10% gain per month. So it's just hands-free. Just sit back and let me invest for you. And it's going really, really well this year so far. So let's just jump right into things for the week. Let's check out the economic calendar real quick, guys. This week is pretty light on that economic calendar. So biggest thing last week, guys, was Friday. We had President-elect Trump get inaugurated as the president of the United States. So that being said, there's probably gonna be some pretty drastic changes to monetary policy happening. So we kind of have to go through the next couple weeks, see what the Federal Reserve says, see what kind of happens. But this week is pretty light. You guys can see as far as high impact events, there's not a whole lot. It's just really light, not like last week. Last week was littered all week long with high impact events. So, definitely keep your eyes on the economic calendar, but things should be trending and moving in a pretty technical pattern this week. So let's just jump right into things, guys. If it's your first time in here, I go through all these pairs except for oil on the bottom. So all these pairs on the right here, including the dollar index. So let's just jump right into things. So these arrows that you guys see are left from last week's premium daily live sessions. We were looking to basically just follow and continue through with dollar weakness, okay? So news first, Justin. I was just going over that. Don't know if you just missed it, but there's not a whole lot of news this week. Our key risk event this week is going to be, we've got Draghi speaking tomorrow. All right, we have the European Central Bank, Mario Draghi. He's the head of the European Central Bank, or president of the European Central Bank. He's going to be speaking tomorrow afternoon. So that's going to be a big market mover for the euro. If you guys don't know, earlier, end of last year, late last year, the ECB, European Central Bank, decided that they're going to continue their easing. So basically the euro is going to continue to inflate long term until they decide to cut off their easing. And Friday, our key risk event is going to be the USD. We have the advanced GDP. It's going to be quarter over quarter. So that's going to be the last 3 months of GDP. And we have our core durable goods order on Friday morning. So that being said, but other than that, we have, a couple things, unemployment claims, preliminary GDP, some CPI for the New Zealand dollar, some crude oil inventories. That's a big one too. If you guys trade oil, I don't trade oil, so it doesn't really affect me too much, but yeah, definitely make sure you guys have that, all the high risk event news. What I do, guys, is I have just like a little calendar every single week. I just write down all the red folders on my calendar. When they happen, I highlight them so I know that they're done and over with. And I just keep it right next to me, right on my desk. So I always can look over if I'm about to get into a trade. I know around when the high risk events are going to be coming out. So as I said last week, guys, we're still looking for gold to continue making some new highs. We were looking for it to push higher. The market's opened pretty volatile. You guys can see the dollar weakened pretty significantly, and we already saw almost a 60 pip climb. Yeah, almost a 60 pip climb in gold since the markets have opened. So that should continue extending throughout the week. Our long-term target on gold for this week, we are going to be bullish on gold, and we're looking at it coming up to this previous supply level, previous demand level, now a supply level. Okay, so previous resistance, now support around the 1250 mark. So that's over the next week or two. That's where we're going to look for gold to move towards. And it might not get all the way there. It may get about halfway there, somewhere up to this area. But we are looking for it to make some new highs, get around the 1220, 12 to 1225 range at least before looking to go higher. Dollar index, guys, is continuing to drop. All right, so we drew this last week. Now we did see a sharp pullback before things started moving, but remember, as anybody, as an experienced trader knows, nothing moves straight up, nothing moves straight down. So when I actually drew this line, we had this level right here, and I said if this support was broken, then we're going to drop lower sharply. We didn't see that support break. We actually saw a pullback before moving lower, so this pair continued moving sideways towards the end of the week. Now this week, we're looking for the continuation of this long-term downtrend. All right. Euro USD, we're looking for it to continue moving higher. Okay, so I drew this. I believe I put this in the premium group too last week. I mean, in the free group as well. This is in the premium group. I literally drew this, guys. I haven't touched these lines at all. If you're in the premium group, you would know these lines have been here since the daily live sessions. We've been looking for it to come up to this top previous resistance on the daily right here, right around the 107.60 area. We had this 4 daily candles that failed to penetrate this resistance in the past. We're looking to come up here and potentially make a double top. If not, if we break it, then we're just going to look to continue moving much higher. But our bias is still selling the dollar. So if the dollar's weak, guys, if you guys are new to this, if the dollar is weak, where does Euro USD go? It goes up, right? Because these people are buying the euro and selling the dollar, all right? Because there's always an opposite that's happening. All right. Moving on to USD Chafe. We're looking for shorts on this pair. This is a great risk reward this week, guys. We're actually about to be breaking our, let me delete some of these lines so it's not too confusing to some of you guys. All right, maybe that's a little bit easier for you guys. So we came back into this long-term, this green box marks off this big top from the past. All right. So you guys can see right here on the daily, we had made basically like a triple top. We had broken through right here. That was a fake out, but this was a top. This was a top right here. Let me get my marker out so some of you guys can see this. All right, right there, right there. We broke through right here, but still saw some good resistance. Sellers came back in and pushed price back into this range. Now earlier, end of last year, we did see price break this level, and then it came back into this range, and now we're resuming this downtrend that we've been in since the end of December. Started coming back down, making lower highs and lower lows. So we're going to look for this to extend lower this week, more than likely at least down to this area before, probably continuing the waves, coming back down, test this previous support, now resistance, and then continue moving down further throughout the week. Just like Euro USD, right? If you guys are new, you guys don't understand correlations, make sure you guys write this in your trading journal that Euro USD has a negative correlation to USD Chafe. All right, so when one goes down, the other goes up. Most of the time, nothing's a 100% correlation. We're talking most of the time here, okay? Pound dollar, okay, we're looking for buys on the pound dollar this week, okay? The dollar weakness is taking over the pound weakness. We have this consolidation after a big push up last week. All right, so we saw this big push to close this gap, big move up. I think we're going to make another leg higher. And this trend line is this trend line right here, this red descending trend line is a very powerful trend line. We've been actually playing off of it all the way since post-Brexit, actually. So you guys can see, it looks a little bit better on the 4-hour. Won't make sense if you look at it on the daily. But let me show it to you guys, so you guys can see what I'm talking about. All right. So this trend line, if any of you guys have been trading with me for a while, you guys know I'm not a huge fan of trend lines unless they're on higher time frames and they make sense. So we have this trend line coming all the way back to the middle of July, guys. Okay, so we had this. It was post-Brexit. This was Brexit right here. All right, that was Brexit. This was the flash crash in the pound. All right. But that's just to kind of give you guys some history so you guys understand where this is coming from. But we had a touch right here, touch right here, touch right here, broke through, came and touched the upside or the top side of this trend line, came back under, touched the downside of this trend line, and then a little bit in this zone, got near it in that zone. All right, so this is a very strong trend line that's been extending for a very long time, and it got respected also right here and right here. All right, so we're going to look for price to move up to this green box, and then we'll see what happens. It's either going to break through here and continue moving higher, or we're going to see another rejection like we have in the past, and we're going to look to continue selling the pound. More than likely, it's going to come up. We're going to look to sell the pound, especially with Brexit coming back. A lot of talks about Brexit coming back into play. Pound to yen. You guys know in the premium group, we have not touched pound yen in quite some time due to the pound being weak, but also the yen being weak. So we have two pairs that are kind of like doing the same thing. We don't have one really strong, one really weak, like we do on something like, Euro USD. We have weak dollar, or I'm sorry, gold. We have like a weak dollar, so strong gold. We don't have a lot of confluence with this pair, so we just are not trading this pair at all right now. And we can be honest sometimes. Sometimes it's okay to say if it doesn't make sense, then you just stay away from it, right? If you can't analyze it, if the analysis doesn't make a whole lot of sense, it's not coinciding with your strategy, then just don't trade it. Simple as that. So we aren't touching pound yen right now. It did come down to the 50%. This is last week. It had opened with a huge over 200 pip gap. Down at the 50% level, 50% retracement level of the previous swing low to swing high, and we saw a rejection around there. So this pair could continue moving higher, but you have to keep in mind USD JAPY is dropping, okay? So if USD JAPY is dropping, that means people are selling the dollar, buying the yen, all right? So pound, if people are buying the yen, then that should mean that this pair should fall down, right? But if pound dollar is going up, we have a strengthening pound moving higher. So we have two things pulling on each other. So that's why this doesn't offer great risk to reward. So I just wouldn't trade pound yen at all this week. I think things like USD chafe breaking its support, that's an easy sell right there once it breaks support. Euro USD, that's an easy buy once resistance is broken. Gold, easy buy once resistance is broken. Okay, so pretty simple, guys. Long-term trading, sustainability in the markets. Don't trade something that doesn't make sense. If you're looking at pound yen and something makes sense to you, by all means trade it. I'm just saying, me personally, pound yen doesn't look like the opportunities in the way I trade. It's not coinciding with my strategy, so we just aren't touching it right now. All right, AUD USD, same thing. I'm looking for buys on this pair. Actually, on my personal account, I've been long on AUD USD since around this area, the 75.50, or I guess a little bit higher, 75.50 area. All right, so I'm still expecting, this is kind of a long-term trade on my personal account. I'm looking for it to go a little bit higher. I'm planning on holding it pretty much the whole week until we really start to get into an overbought zone. We're most likely going to be running into this previous resistance. You guys can see these tops that formed, okay, even though, again, it kind of looks like the long-term USD chafe, right? We had that one area on the resistance where it had broken through, right? But it had held right here, right here, right here, and right here on USD chafe when I just showed you guys that on the daily. So very similar, but this is our next supply level. So that being said, this is our next resistance. Wait for price to move up to this area, and then we're going to be looking for some sells, okay? But until then, still look for some definite buys on this pair once resistance is broken. We could even fib this out too to have it make a little bit more sense and kind of see where our retracements. So that's what I figured. We've kind of broken through all of some people use other levels, right? I know some people use like 86% point something, 70.7. There's all sorts of different levels that people customize in, but just basing this strategy off of traditional fib levels, moving up to the 61.8. We've already broken through it right here. So our next level should be a complete retracement, but we'll see, we're at least looking to go until 77. So look for buys on this pair, just like gold, just like Euro USD. Okay, price action is very, very nice this week. All right, same with NZD USD. It's It's moving higher as well. If you guys don't understand correlations, remember AUD/USD and NZD/USD move together. If you look at them, they look very similar. You guys see if you like switch between them. And these were some trades last week, guys. If you guys watched Sunday's webinar last week, right? Price was around this area. Okay, we had this flag and we talked about once this resistance was broken, we're looking for buys. Okay, so easy money if you guys pay attention and follow along. Easy, easy money. Same with NZD/USD. All right, last week we had marked off on Sunday's webinar, we marked off this resistance at 71.34. We talked about when this resistance was broken, we're looking for buys. Okay, so we see this big push up. Maybe you didn't get in there. You get in on the retest, and then you buy. All right, easy money. And again, easy money this week, guys. Once it breaks resistance, look for a continuation of this uptrend. Remember, the trend is your friend. The trend is your friend. Keep playing with it. Okay, don't, if you have that mentality of, oh, it's moved up so high, you know, it looks like it's going to come down, you're going to end up blowing your account, right? If you don't have cognitive analysis behind your trades of why you're entering a trade, but you just think because it's high, it looks like it's going to sell. All right, that's a very like a newbie trader's mentality. Make sure you guys curb that mentality and you don't just sell because it's up high or buy because it's down low, right? Because it can just keep going, and then that's the way the markets make their money, is by new people coming in and not having the proper analysis on pairs. All right. So this whole week, guys, the premise is the dollar continuing to weaken, okay? USD Jappy. Last week in the free group and the premium group, we talked about USD Jappy making new lows, okay? So when we talk about new lows, we're obviously talking about this area being broken, okay? But even in this area, we talked about don't sell this pair yet until support is broken, okay? So even on last week's premium webinar, price was right around here at the end of the week. All right, I talked about selling only when support was broken, okay? So this was your validation to begin selling. All right, so this pair is going to continue moving further down to, it's going to test this area, and then I believe we'll see new lows with dollar weakness, okay? Remember also, the dollar yen is a great pair to trade just because the yen is also, this is something you guys should write down in your trading journals too if you guys are new to trading, that the yen is treated as a safe haven currency, just like, well, gold isn't a currency, it's commodity, right? But it's treated as like a safe haven investment. All right, same with the yen. All right, so you'll notice there's actually a negative, huge, about 90 to 95% negative correlation to USD Jappy and gold. All right. And those numbers aren't just made up, guys. You guys can go to MyFX book has a great market correlation chart. You guys can go and find the market correlation between, it has every single pair that you can trade, and it shows you all the different correlations between the pairs. If you guys don't know about that, just Google MyFX book Forex correlation. It's going to be the first thing on there. Go look at, and then look at you know, gold XAU USD versus USD Jappy. I promise you guys, mark my words, you'll go and see it. It'll show negative 90% or higher correlation to each other. So what that means is when USD Jappy goes down, gold goes up, okay? So they look very, very similar. Like just for instance, you look at this hour right now. So we look at USD Jappy. It's made this big bearish candle and a small pullback. You look at gold, probably doing the exact same thing. I mean, well, the opposite, you know what I mean? So huge buy, now it's making a little pullback, okay? If this starts to move up, we are going to see USD Jappy move down, okay? So make sure you guys know these correlations, right? I've seen people like sell gold and sell USD. I mean, there will be small times, but if 90 to 95% of the time they have a negative correlation, then why are you going to take that chance of only being right, you know, 5% of the time or 10% of the time? So if you sell one, make sure you're looking at the other one to make sure that they, you know, have good confluence to each other. Okay. That's the way you can trade based on confluence. All right. So USD Jappy long-term headed down this week. We actually had some nice tweezer tops form. Okay. You guys know that formation, double tweezer tops. Well, not double tweezer tops, but just tweezer tops. Okay. So that's a bearish formation, but bearish candle formation. So I'm speculating that we're going to at least see, this could be a far reach. Okay. This is just the marking off the 50% level. And it's also got a correlation right here with the 100 SMA, 100-day moving average at the 50% level, which is like 109.30, 109.50 area. All right, so this could be a stretch, but I do believe we'll at least see 112 this week. All right, so look for definite definite drop in USD JAPY, okay? So, and that's going to send gold skyrocketing, okay? So you can already see it happening. It's already moving. It's already moving. But remember, it's Sunday, guys. Don't jump into a trade right when the markets have opened. I think that's a horrible idea. Wait until at least the London session if you're super eager. But best days to trade is Tuesday through Thursdays, in my opinion. Mondays are good to trade also. But remember, Monday, even though depending on where you live, like for me, tomorrow when I wake up, it'll be technically Monday. In the markets, it's still going to be Sunday until 5 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so Sundays are big trap days for traders, right? We could see that. I'm sure a ton of people are probably selling USD JAPY right now, and then watch it could like spike up before coming down just to hunt stop losses. Okay, but again, you know, sometimes it's not going to happen like that. Sometimes price action is going to be good in the beginning of the week, and you're just going to see an immediate drop. So when there's uncertainty like that, you don't really know what's going to happen. I just sit on my hands and wait for better opportunities to form. All right, USD CAD. I told you guys this in the free group last week, as well as the premium group. We've been looking for sells on USD CAD. Well, we're looking for buys, right? We caught this. Well, okay, so I don't want to sound too confusing, but last week, guys, we saw this support line, and this support line is a daily support that actually runs all the way back until 2014. Okay, so it goes all the way back to 2014, this red ascending line. All right, now if we zoom in, I'm going to delete these. Well, I'll keep them there for a second so you guys can see what we did in the premium group. Textbook break, retest, and then short. All right, super easy money last week on USD CAD. Caught that trade, absolutely no problem. Caught a ton of pips on that, actually about 80 pips, or maybe that was a week before. Everything's been blending together, moving so fast. But either way, I remember this trade, we caught over 80 pips on this single trade alone. We were out of the trade before this big move happened, and we went back into this range. I still believe that with the dollar weakness and buying on CAD, there were a lot of oil news that went over this weekend. Shout out to Carl for sharing the link in the free group. If you guys haven't checked out that link in the chat room, go ahead and go read through it. But it's basically saying that the demand for oil is going to be going up. So if you guys don't know, oil, Canada's economy really revolves around oil. I'm sure if you guys live in Canada, you probably know that. So what does that mean? That means when oil goes up, the Canadian dollar goes up, okay? So applying that knowledge to USD CAD, if the Canadian dollar is going up in value, which way is the market moving? Moving down, right? Because people are selling the US dollar and they're buying the CAD, which is going to send this pair down. Okay. So look for it. I told you guys last week, look for it to move to the 1.32 level. And I'm still sticking with that analysis this week. I still believe we're going to see around this trend line, guys. I think it's going to come back down to this trend line. And then again, we never know. We can't, of course, see the future, predict necessarily that far into the future. Or I can't, at least. I like doing like short-term analysis. You know, I'm sure there's people out there that expert pro traders trading 10, 20 years might know what's already going on. I've been trading for about 4 years. So I don't really, I just know where things are going short term, which I believe they're moving down. Okay. And then once we get to this level, we're going to see if it's going to bounce and continue moving up higher and respecting this ultra long-term uptrend that we're in. Okay. You guys see this long-term trend that we've been in for quite a while. Since April, May of last year. Okay. So we'll see if that continues to resume, but there is some good conviction to the downside. Also, just price action on the daily too. You just look at the candles, like boom, we had this big move up, and then we had this really big exhaustion candle, saying the sellers from this move are still really in control. So pretty sure we're going to see this pair continue to move down throughout the week. And then, like I said, look for it to come down to this trend line, see what happens in this trend line, see if we get a bounce and continue respecting this long-term trend line, or if we see a break like we did in this zone and a continued sell-off of the USD CAD. So we'll analyze that when the markets get to that point where we aren't worried about what's happening in the future. We're worried about what's happening now, okay, which is we're looking for weakness in the dollar, buying in Canadian dollar, okay? And oil, lastly, I don't give out trades on oil. I just kind of look at it just a little bit. Just, you guys know me. I always talk about oil, or I always talk about me and my relationship with oil, if you will. I'm still in like the learning phases. I just took on oil as another thing to trade or another commodity to trade early last year. I still don't feel comfortable trading it live. I still am trying to learn it like the back of my hand. So it's really patience, guys. Some of you guys like want to hop into charts and flip your accounts in a month or 2 months. Like, you really need to understand the markets and understand the way they move before you even start investing real money into it. So the demand for oil should continue throughout the week. So we're expecting oil to move up higher, and oil moving up higher is going to send USD CAD lower. Okay, pretty simple confluence between those two pairs. So that is pretty much it, guys. Pretty simple analysis this week. We don't really see a whole lot of reversals coming. I don't see, I do believe towards the end of this week, maybe the beginning of next week, we will see a lot of these pairs start to become overbought and oversold, kind of like gold. So we could see some opportunities to sell in the future. But for right now, our main thing is the dollar. Okay, remember, the dollar is kind of your barometer of what direction the markets are moving, because when the dollar is moving down, all right, or the dollar is moving up, regardless of which way the dollar is moving, the US dollar makes up over 60% of all the volume in the market. It's the largest economy in the entire world, okay? It beats any other currency out there in terms of size. So that being said, it pretty much influences, not every single pair, but all the pairs that I trade, okay? So you'll see almost every pair except pound yen has the dollar as either the quote currency or the base currency. And I really love that. If you really, maybe I'm not recommending everybody on here to start off with 9 pairs, start with maybe 2 or 3 pairs, but pick pairs that have confluence with each other, that correlate with each other. So I've been saying the whole word. I've been saying the wrong word this whole time. I meant correlation, guys. I'm sorry. That have correlation with each other. Okay. Such as, I was saying, gold and USD JAPI, or Euro USD and USD Chafe, okay? Like pairs, or AUD USD and NZD USD. You guys will actually see I have them sorted too, kind of similar, because gold and Euro USD move similarly, okay? Euro USD and USD Chafe move opposite of each other, okay? Pound yen and pound US dollar, they're both pound as the base currency, so I just keep them together. AUD USD and NZD USD, they both move together, okay? USD JAPI, I probably could have that up here next to gold because they do opposite of each other, but these are both USD base currencies or base pairs. So that's just my method for having it set up. All of these correlate in some way, shape, or form to each other. So that being said, it really takes the pressure off of trading, and you don't really feel like completely lost all the time. If you don't really know what's happening with one pair, you can go to another pair, and generally you can see some pretty nice opportunities. But that's it, guys. This year is going awesome. This year we're making tons of money. Everything is moving great. The momentum is really picking up picking back up after some slow holidays, just as it is every single year. The holidays always kind of puts a rut in things. But we're out of that. We're back to killing things and making pips. I'm shooting for every single week in the premium group. I'm shooting for over 200 pips in the premium group every week. And we've gotten very, very close every single week that we've done serious trading this month. So, or this year, month, same thing. But that being said, guys, be on the lookout for some trade calls, but dollar weakness throughout the board, okay? So I'll catch you guys on premium members. I'll catch you guys on the webinars throughout the week. And just to repeat, if some of you guys didn't catch in the beginning, if you guys liked what you heard here, if you guys got value out of this and you guys make money this week, definitely go check out our website at www.positivetraders.us. We average about 10 signals a week. We do daily live sessions Monday through Thursday, and we also have a trade copier, a free trade copier for all the premium members. And last week, we actually made 2% on the trade copier already. So actually, we made like almost 5% on it, but we had a losing trade at the end of the week. But we're up almost 3% for last week. So very, very solid gains. Jaden, thank you. 10 out of 10 again. Thanks. No problem. No problem, Jaden. You guys enjoy this week. I hope this really helped you guys make some money. I honestly, because I've been there too, guys. I know how it is when when you're still learning, you're very confused, and it's nice to have somebody else that has done it, gone through. I've taken so many L's, so many losses. I've done it, been there, done that, got the t-shirt sort of saying. And, I really feel like I have a very solid understanding of the markets. So that's why I do this. I like sharing it with you guys. I think it's very helpful. It helps you guys learn a lot. So I really appreciate you guys' support, and I'll catch you guys later this week. But you guys have a safe week. Remember to keep those risks low, 2% or less per trade. That's the way you're going to end up staying in the markets long term. Other than that, if you guys have any questions, reach out to me. But have a great weekend, guys.